is a quorum present. We're all here and accounted for. All legal notices have been duly posted and the court's duly called. Is there a motion to open court? All those in favor? And available, please open court.
Please rise. The Dallas County Commissioners Court is now in session for the January 2012 term with the Honorable Clay Lewis Chinky presiding. Please remain standing for the invocation.
All right, let's go to the Lord, y'all, because I have a feeling we're going to need it today. And the invocation today will be given by Justice Commissioner Franks.
Judge, Commissioner, this morning we were very pleased to have with us Pastor Corby Bush Sr. Pastor Corby Bush Sr. is the pastor of the Light of Liberty Church in Oak Park, Illinois, and the senior pastor of the Greater Harvest Church in Dallas, Texas. Both churches have a strong emphasis on supporting missions and evangelism. He is committed to helping people take positive and informative steps in their spiritual journey to a more personal relationship with Jesus Christ, which is evidenced in his teachings on what it means to be a Christian. He has a strong calling from the area of foreign missions, having traveled extensively to over 45 countries. His mission projects have aided many missionaries in their work, and his recent trips to both Ethiopia and Haiti further inspired him to continue his work and use the divine call to go where my voice is heard small and my light shines dim. Go to those who nothing been prepared. His desire to see people of all nations experience spiritual growth by making lifelong changes of wisdom and Bible understandable. And Pastor Bush is a graduate of the Moody Bible Institute of Chicago, Illinois, and the Dallas Theological Seminary in Dallas, Texas. He served in ministry for over 35 years. Having been called to the ministry in 1974 and received his license preaching in 1975. He is wholeheartedly supported in his ministry by his wife, missionary Ron E. Bush, and their family. Pastor Bush, thank you very much for being with us this morning.
Let's bow and pray. Father, we do thank you for your love toward us. We thank you for another day of life. Father, we ask you as this session opens that you will lead us and help us to be just and to be considerate. Father, we pray today that you will bless us to do those things which honor your name and nothing that would bring dishonor. Father, I pray today that you will forgive us our sins as we repent before you for anything that has offended you. We ask you to bless every person that is here present. Let your favor and your guidance guide this session today. We thank you for this. What you strengthen us to do, we will give you the praise for and give you the glory for as long as you will permit us to do so. So today, Father, let your hand be with us, and we thank you for it in advance. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor.
Welcome to this meeting of the Commissioners Court. We'll be considering items on our official agenda this recess for a formal work session. We'll hear from a group of registered speakers. Then we'll convene in closed session to consider items as allowed by law. We have two resolutions this morning. And first is from Commissioner Cam Chubb.
Judge, Commissioner, I have a resolution for James K. Biggs Sr. He was not able to make today, so we're asking him to get it to him. Mr. Biggs moved to Dallas at the age of 98. He's currently 109. He also has walked the Katy Trail every morning with only a cane until he turned age 106. He just received, the reason why I came here today, Saturday, he received a 85-year service pin from the Grand Lodge of the Texas Masonic Lodge, and I second it.
I second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
But I say, and I have a moment of privilege, I was telling Commissioner Cantrell this, my mother, who died in April, was in the nursing home with Mr. Biggs. And he came into the nursing home at the age of 107. My father had been dead for many years, and they had a very warm relationship. And Mother kind of came out of her shell and provided some great happiness for her for the last 3 months of her life. So Mr. Briggs is a wonderful man. Thank you for bringing him here. That's the rest of it.
All right, and the second resolution we have this morning is from Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Garcia?
Yes, Judge, colleagues, members of the audience, we are celebrating today here at the Commissioner's Court a 50-year anniversary. And I'm going to ask the representatives of KERA, Ms. Mary Ann Al-Hadaf, and Mr. Christopher Whiteley, Director of Marketing and Communications for KERA, to come forward to the microphone. It's not every day that we celebrate a national recognized award-winning nonprofit for broadcasting, an institution here in Dallas and Dallas County. So I'm very honored to judge everyone here to read this resolution. It says as follows: whereas KERA, the nationally recognized and award-winning nonprofit for public broadcasting station of North Texas, celebrated its 50th anniversary, and whereas it began under the early leadership of public broadcasting icons Ralph D. Rogers and Robert Bob Wilson, and whereas in early years the station was known as the Little Red Schoolhouse of the Air, laying the foundation for what is now the public television and radio network that reaches the fourth largest population area in our country. It excels in presenting a weekday lineup of award-winning children's programming from icon shows such as Sesame Street, The Electric Company, to newer programs including World Girl, Sid the Science Kid, and the bilingual Maya and Miguel that inspire children to love learning and explore the realms of reading, language, and science. Whereas, through the years, KERA has featured a wide variety of original programming produced by the station, including Newsroom with Jim Lehrer, Lee Clark, Column, and Bob Ray Sanders. Concert specials starring music legends like Willie Nelson and Chris Christopherson, and large slate of programs about the people, places, and history of Texas. Shows that include Wildflowers with Helen Hayes and Lady Bird Johnson, After Goodbye, An AIDS Story, a program documented the impact of AIDS on Dallas, Turtle Creek Corral and the U.S.-Mexican War, 1846-1848. Series produced in English and Spanish. The station has won multiple national Emmy Awards and is two-time winner of the Alfred P. Columbia University Award, the highest honor for broadcast journalism. And whereas KERA, parent organization, North Texas Public Broadcasting, expanded the reach and diversity of its public broadcasting programs by adding 2 award-winning radio stations, KERA 90.1, 1974, and KXT 91.7 in 2009. The digital television channel KERA World 2009 and Art and Seek 2008. An extensive on-the-air and online resource for arts and culture in North Texas. The organization has kept pace with emerging technologies by offering programs online at KERA.org and through mobile applications. Over 2 million people in the North Texas region and beyond access content for these resources every week. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court officially congratulates KERA on its 50th anniversary and wishes them continued success for a strong public broadcasting future in North Texas for many years to come.
All those in favor? And let me say that, to y'all, I feel like we're kin to each other. All the Caillou, Berenstein Bears, and Arthur I watch in my house. It's not, sports. It's you guys. So, you love Sesame Street. Yeah. You love Sesame Street. Did y'all say a few words?
Thank you.
Commissioner Garcia, Judge Jenkins, distinguished members of the Commissioners Court of Dallas, what a tremendous honor to receive this resolution celebrating Kate Mary's 50th anniversary in serving Dallas and North Texas with quality public television and radio programs. I accept this honor on behalf of our Board of Directors, our grateful staff, and the nearly 2 million people who access our programs and websites every week. Thank you again. It's a great pleasure to be with you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to say something. As a donor for KERA for some years, I have to say that I see KERA as part of my life. We talk about Sesame Street, but a lot of you know I'm a dentist by profession, and I still talk about Miguel and the Explorer and the stickers. You know, new generations of kids, you know, that continue to like Elmo, and you know, like I say, new programs now that I haven't watched in a while, but definitely I will. But I want to encourage people to continue to donate. You know, public broadcasting, you know, will continue to survive as long as there are people like you. I think the commission sees that, right? That continue to support the best programming in a wide range of spectrums. Thank you all. It's a pleasure for me to congratulate KERA and keep doing a great job. Thank you.
Next, we have the consent agenda. Is there a motion on the consent agenda? All those in favor?
Well, I have a, Judge, I'm voting no on what we're doing.
No, we're not on page.
Okay.
This is consent.
Sounds good.
And now we'll move into the bidding items. Before we get there, I've got a quick question. Is Sylvia Bradley the person who is speaking on a bid? Did speak it. And I had a message that's on my list. Do I have a protester on the bid? No.
Letter protester.
Not letter protester. Okay, no. I'm sorry. All right. Well, that being the case, then there's nobody here. Let's now move. Is there a motion on the bid? So moved. All right. Is there any discussion on the bid?
Yes, I'm voting no in the second bid for the trash miners, and my point for voting against it, Judge, colleagues, members of the audience, is not the protest that we have, really, because I do agree that the process was followed. I'm voting no because of no minority participation. That's it. Not the record, not the person.
But this is a bid, it's not a RFP, RFQ.
Correct.
Okay.
I understand. However, I have a rule. If it's a low theater, it has to reflect Dallas County specs.
I was just saying for the legal purposes.
Well, I understand.
Any other discussion on the bid?
Call the question.
And given that there's not discussion on the protest itself, I'm not going to call on you and Gordon to go over the protest. We'll call the question.
Well, it's just to make the record clear, the protest was that the bid was late.
Right.
Period.
And so there's no discussion. There seems to be no discussion about the latency.
After hours, it's already fell.
Correct.
Yeah.
In the process.
But since he brought it up and put it on the record, we want to make sure you understood what the protest was. So, okay, call the question.
All those in favor?
Aye. I'm voting against.
Okay, motion carries 4-1 with Commissioner Garcia voting against. Next, we'll consider corridors 10 through 32, pulling, 10 through 32 and A1, pulling 13, and with a substitute signature page for corridor 29. The only change being the contractor's name from Randy Burns, CCO, to Michael Ramirez, CFO. So, do I have second? Any discussion on those matters before we take the vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
I understand there are speakers who are registered to speak on corridor 13. Since there's no action being taken on corridor 13 today, you will be heard with the rest of the speakers at the end of the briefing session, regular time for speakers. Additionally, I understand that Judge Lowry is here to speak on corridor 14. Judge Lowry, please come forward.
Judge. Good morning. Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. I did want to comment briefly on item 14. Since it's already been approved, I'm pleased to say that I'm not here to oppose it.
Sorry to take you out of order.
That's all right.
Mr. Price threw me off. He likes to say, call the question. Threw me off.
That's quite all right. I did just want to say, Judge, that because this, as I understand it, is purely an informational policy, I can't oppose it. We're in favor of open government just like everybody else, and information is a good thing. I did, though, want on behalf of the judiciary just to say that if there's any kind of implicit suggestion in this policy or this briefing that judges at least close their courts and take those decisions lightly or irresponsibly, I would have to disagree. We do have some considerations that we have to take into account that differ from what the county's direct employees have to consider and what the county judge has to consider in deciding whether to close the county. In particular, depending on the day of the week, we have anywhere from 500 to over 1,000 jurors who we will expect to be reporting for duty. On days when the schools are closed and mass transit is impaired and the roads are not in good condition, we think very carefully about whether we want to have those folks try to make it downtown from all different parts of the county and subject themselves to whatever risks of accident and injury that entails. The other thing, and of course we also have large numbers of attorneys and litigants who have to deal with kind of the same conditions, so many of them are not in quite as bad a situation as some of our jurors who only come downtown when they're summoned for jury duty. So to the extent that on a couple of days last year when the DISD and most of the other area schools were closed, when the roads were not good and people were being urged not to go out if they didn't have to, many of the judges did decide that they were going to close their courts. Under the government code, the local administrative judge, which would be me for the district courts this year and last year, sets the places and times where court is held. And within that framework, each individual judge, of course, has the discretion to set his or her own schedule. The last thing I want to say is that just because a court is closed doesn't mean that no one is working. Many of the judges were here last year on those days. They lived close and were able to get in, and they were trying to do as much paperwork as they could to be available for any urgent or emergency situations that might have arisen. Some of our court coordinators came in even though they were not required to keep up with their business. And so I just wanted to be clear and on the record of this court that the judiciary takes these matters every bit as seriously as the county judge and the commissioners. And I hope that there won't be any use of the information that's going to be generated under this new policy to suggest otherwise or to play any politics with these decisions. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Judge, if I can just respond to that. We do have a process set up. I believe you've got a process set up now where if you are in trial, you already have a jury impanel, that they can get notice through our website. Is that correct?
Either through the website or we always, bailiffs always have phone numbers and we can make calls if we need to.
And that was the main thing. I think to a large extent, criminal courts, when if the judge shuts down the court, then that affects the PD's office as well as the DA's office. And those are some of the things but with regards to the jurors, and that's what I'm particularly concerned about, them making their way down and then find out that the court's closed.
And we've been working to have a better procedure for that in cooperation with Mr. Martin and among ourselves. We haven't really had any disastrous weather so far this winter, but if it happens again, I think we'll be prepared to communicate more rapidly and more effectively with the public and with our people who might otherwise have to come forward. Thank you. Thank you.
And Judge, just to be clear, there's no implicit message in the order that the judiciary is doing anything untoward. Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, but under this order, we won't brief whether or not, for instance, judges call in juries on particular days. The purpose of this briefing is whether or not the taxpayers are out revenue and what the effect of that is. So that would only deal with whether or not employees come in.
Right. It would only be related to employees because that be the ones we'd have record of as they put in the contract.
So it won't even be, if you determine not to call your jury in, to come to work and accept pleas and things of this nature, that won't even be brief. The only thing that Ryan and the budget office is looking to have brief is the impact on the taxpayers of independent elected officials exercising their discretion to close their offices.
Well, and I understood it that way, and as I say, I'm not opposed to information being gathered and disseminated, as long as it's, understood what it signifies.
Sure.
And by the way, I've been reminded, we have a long-standing policy in jury services, and it's actually printed on our summonses, that if DISD closes, jurors are not required to report. And that is one reason why on the day when DISD is closed, we give consideration to whether we need to be in court. Thank you very much.
And that takes us to our briefing section.
Rich, can I say something?
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
Briefing section. I just want to take a moment of privilege to give kudos to our Dallas County staff for a job well done this last Saturday. I particularly want to congratulate Dr. Smith for the bilingual job fair that we have at the Juvenile Department building. I know that several of our other departments were there. We have over 160 attendees. 195, okay, 195. So that was a big success, and I want to thank all the departments that were there for their hard work, and more importantly for outreaching to a community in these times where a lot of people are looking for jobs. So thank you so much, and also to recognize Zachary Thompson for the fantastic work with the city of Dallas at this point, and Harris County as well, for the opportunity to be reported. So I know that will keep us posted on the job. So thank you again, and thank you, George. Thank you, Paul.
Judge, I'd also like to say thank you to Shannon Brown and Chris Thompson and Community Service, Steve Mize, for the move of the JP courts and whoever else was involved in it, because it was a big deal getting all those JPs moved around. And when we don't receive phone calls, I know there's some issues on some temporary side with some electricity.
Oh, there are some issues, Commissioner, and staff is working on that.
Those are issues that you're going to have those kind of deals, but for the biggest part of the moving computers and phones, well done. I mean, it was a major deal, so thank you.
We hope everything will be really soon. Thank you.
Any other comments before we move to briefing? And with that, we are now reconvening the public session and recess for our briefing session to consider items for a subsequent session. Mr. Martin, please take us through the briefing.
Morning, Judge Commissioner. A very short briefing agenda this morning. Item 1, Health and Human Services. 1A, that quote is on your formal agenda. 1B, recommend approval of the Department of State Health Services document, tuberculosis prevention and control. Item 2, tax assessor collector. 2A, recommend approval of contract with County East Board for point of sale lease equipment. 2B, recommend approval of contract with Boardwalk Transportation South for point of sale lease equipment. Item 3, budget. 3A, you have your conference travel and training request. 3B, hiring fees exceptions of the district attorney and health and human services officers. And that concludes the briefing. We have budget officer has a couple of items.
Just on miscellaneous equipment, item 598, it should be 2 printers, not 1 printer, so we'll be doing that. That's for the tax office funded out of the VIP funds. And additionally, out of the sheriff's forfeiture funds, we're going to be purchasing a gun safe for the new location that they're opening up on Mayfield Road. For the amount of $900.
Judge, that concludes your briefing agenda. If you have no questions on miscellaneous or information, you do have a number of
I
speakers.
just have one question. On the Dallas County auction, all that money goes into the general fund. Do we have an idea of how much is collected in these kind of auctions?
It varies based on the number of lots we have, participation, but we should do something about it.
End of the month, and we will be,
Majority does go back into the general fund, unless it's grant funded, those funds go back.
well, Mr. Brown will present that information.
Yes, we always bring back with them. Yeah.
Thank you.
that brings us to our registered speakers. Will you please read the instructions for our speakers?
All Commissioners Court attendees are hereby advised that this meeting is conducted in accordance with the provisions of the Dallas County Code, Section 74-71. Visitors and registered speakers are to preserve order and decorum at all times. Personal, profane, or slanderous remarks are not appropriate and will not be allowed at any time during this public meeting. Any and all applause is to be kept brief in observance of time constraints. Disruptive visitors and/or registered speakers may be removed and are subject to the penalties provided in the State of Texas Penal Code, Section 38.13, 42.01, and 42.05. Registered individual speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and the maximum discussion on any one topic is limited to 30 minutes.
All right, and we'll begin with our first speaker. Before we do, a point of information. Most of the speakers here are here to speak about Homeland Security and Intermichael's. You may speak about anything in your 3 minutes, any issue that you like. We will need to follow the rules that I inherited when I got here. These stay away from personal remarks, keep your remarks general. I give a little bit more latitude when we're talking about bids and actual appointments, but given that this appointment's been pulled, I'll hone to our rules. With that in mind, if anyone wants to change it, rewrite or something, if they've got written remarks and they want to rewrite them, you're welcome back next week to do that. But we're going to stick with our rules for the speakers. So with that, our first speaker is Miss Cecile Newberry-Fernandez. Ms. Fernandez, please come forward. And please state your name and your address.
My name is Cecile Newberry-Fernandez. I reside at 5540 Miller Avenue in Dallas. And thank you, Judge, and thank you, Commissioners, for allowing me to speak today. Once again, troubling actions by some of the Commissioners Court have come to light and illustrated several things. First of all, we need term limits for the Dallas County Commissioners Court. Secondly, we need more transparency and accountability regarding actions this body takes with regard to our money and our safety. One member of this court was quoted last night on TV saying that this is just a political thing. May I offer that this incident is quite instructive and insightful regarding that political judgment. To not have any problem with the reappointment of a person who has been described by the American Civil Rights Commission and the Anti-Defamation League as racist and anti-Semitic is very illuminating about this county body. The news also reported that the Homeland Security Advisory Committee will now be disbanded. So if one person in the sandbox doesn't get their way, you just kick sand in everyone's face and send them home? Once again, we see actions of one commissioner dominating what goes on in Dallas County. And this time it is regarding our public safety. This needs to stop. What about the safety of Dallas County? Other counties, like Harris County, are so far ahead of us with regard to disaster response. Public safety is one of the primary responsibilities of government, and to see how Dallas County conducts public safety by appointing people like the founder of the new Black Panthers, after just a few months ago dispensing with a perfectly good Homeland Security director, certainly does not inspire confidence in this area. Dallas County is part of a global society and should have a Homeland Security Advisory Committee that sees highly respected business leaders and safety experts so that when we do face a crisis, we have partners who are well connected and able to garner the resources necessary to respond quickly and properly. Our vision must be larger than what we have seen in the last few months with regard to Homeland Security in Dallas County. The leader of our body here, with due respect, how can you talk about church regularly, but then unapologetically support an appointee with an anti-Semitic philosophy? Do you know that concerning Israel, Genesis 12:3 says, I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you I will curse, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. I believe America is on a dangerous path right now with the way that government at many different levels is treating Jewish people and the country of Israel. Thank goodness we have Commissioner Dickey on this court to stand against appointments like this when the facts are shown to be what we saw in the news last night. Also to have local citizens taking notice, getting informed, and helping shine the light on the way that business as usual is done in Dallas County is going to help us get rid of the alleged corruption that is being investigated here. How much longer are Dallas County citizens going to tolerate this racist behavior on the part of our Dallas County elected leaders? I, for one, am not. Thank you.
Can I ask one
Sure.
question? Mr. Berry, are you a homeowner and a taxpayer in Dallas County?
I'm both, yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, and our next speaker is Mr. Charles Henning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I requested to come here and speak after I heard the intention of Commissioner Price to make a permanent appointment to the county's Homeland Security Advisory Committee. The man he wanted to appoint has a documented history of disrupting a voting process outside one polling place. I remember the news. That struck a chord with me because I have served Dallas County for 12 years working in the polls. I'm an election judge, and I have gained a very strong appreciation for the voting process in the United States. Then last night, I went with my wife to a local church, spearheading an event that will highlight the 39 years since our Supreme Court said the court in the building right up the street was correct to decree that a woman could end her pregnancy before birth. That decree has made wide and deep waves in our culture. All night long, I have been thinking about our city, Dallas, Texas, a great city and a great nation. Just outside the doors of this building, a president was shot and killed 10 years before that famous court decision up the street. That event reverberated throughout our nation, being seen all over the country live on television. Some say Dallas County is a hinge pin in a planned process to transform this nation into something very different from its founding. People are looking at us. Many people have come here without official permission to come here from another nation. Many say that is okay. There are those who say we are being way too fussy about identifying a citizen who he is before they vote. The result, if we change it, some people, living or dead, can vote a lot, while others say, what's the point of voting at all? Would that change the character of the county? Would it be better? Would we be a good example? Our whole nation today is in a bitter struggle, seesawing between the past and the future. To those who want to make the transformation change, what is really the end game? I believe the end game is a elitist rule of the few over the many, the dominant pattern of world history, the demise of true personal freedom. Is our history exceptional to world history? Dr. D. James Kennedy, an American preacher, said that Jesus Christ gave dignity to every working person because he was born in the womb just like us and worked with his hands as a skilled tradesman. I say to you, that is the root of our exceptional character. What dignity has any value above that? Thank you for the time.
All right, our next speaker is Ms. Bennett Diesel. Ms. Beazle, I forgot to ask Mr. Hennian, just for the record, I think it's good. His address is 910 County View Road in Dallas. But Ms. Beazle, if you could begin by stating your name and your address, and then whatever you want to tell us.
You had that started fine.
Then they started after you did it.
Okay.
Just forgot to ask it.
Okay, and before I state my name and address, I'm nervous.
That's
You're
okay.
shuffling your papers and signing stuff,
Yeah.
makes me even more nervous. So would you be able to just maybe put it on hold, please?
I think we're in good shape because we have to sign these orders the day of the happening, and as soon as we can to get them in. But I just finished signing the last one. I bet you everybody's almost done. But please don't take the signing of documents as disrespect for you or anyone. It's just a requirement that we have. But I can do that for you because I'm done signing.
All right, good, thank you.
Sure.
It really, kind of makes sense, David. Thank you for saying that. Okay, so my name is Beth Beasel. I live at 3608 Southwestern Boulevard, Dallas 75225.
Okay, so good morning, and I wanted to thank you, Judge Jenkins, for your acknowledgement of the need of the Lord Jesus Christ this morning, and all mornings. Thank you. I also want to applaud your decision to remove from the agenda the reappointment of Aaron McCarthy or Aaron Michaels of the Homeland Security Advisory Council. Your wise insight into the redundancy of this council is to be commended. You said on TV that you didn't make this decision based on the backlash from the community. I'm not real sure what you meant by that, but I hope it wasn't that you didn't care about our concerns. Just in case someone does suggest that you should revisit your conclusion about this council, or that you might want to find another position for this man, I would like to express my concerns about his background and associations. If these things are not true, I'd be glad for you to publicly speak to correct any errors that I've made. I'll express my concerns by asking 3 questions. Did Brett Shipp accurately describe Aaron McCarthy Michaels on his WFAA TV report last night? Did he accurately connect Mr. McCarthy Michaels with certain activities and associations? Did he properly portray Mr. McCarthy Michaels' ideology? I don't know about you, but I think Mr. Shipp's characterizations could be seen as pretty incriminating. Even if these characterizations are not true, and I sure hope they're not, I think we in Dallas County could be better represented by someone who is way less controversial than this man. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and the next speaker is Ms. Linda Butts. By the way, before we get to that, when you ask this question, don't mistake that as was not taking the time to answer your question. Glad to answer your question afterwards, but in this we just go into. All right, Ms. Butts, if you would, state you've been there before, just state your name, your address, and the beat you want to say, and your mother beat that you're concerned. Thank you.
Good morning. Linda Butts. I am at 724 Arbor Creek Drive, DeSoto 75114. Just for the record, the following information was easily discovered using Wikipedia. The New Black Panther Party, NBPP, whose formal name is the New Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, is a U.S.-based black political organization founded in Dallas, Texas in 1989. Despite its name, NBPP is not an official successor to the Black Panther Party. Members of the original Black Panther Party have insisted that the newer party is illegitimate and have strongly objected that there is no new Black Panther Party. The Anti-Defamation League, the Southern Poverty Law Center, and the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights consider the new Black Panthers to be a hate group. In 1987, Michael McGee, an alderman in Milwaukee, threatened to disrupt white events throughout the city unless more jobs were created for black people. He held a State of the Inner City press conference in 1990 at City Hall to announce the creation of a Black Panther militia. Aaron Michaels, a community activist and radio producer with aliases of Aaron Michaels and Aaron Michael, was inspired to establish the new Black Panther Party. Michaels rose to widespread attention for the first time when he called on blacks to use shotguns and rifles in Philadelphia to protest against the chairman of a school board when he heard a taped conversation of racial slurs. Dallas County already has an image of the next Chicago with these types of appointments, such as to the Dallas County Homeland Security Advisory Committee. And this image just makes this just makes the image get worse. Thank you.
The next speaker is Mr. Charles Lingerfeld.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners. Thank you for taking us to the Lord this morning.
Actually, thank Commissioner Price.
Price, thank you, sir. It is always an honor to be taken to the Lord God. I am Charles Lingerfeld, 1608 Bell Meadow Lane, Dallas, Texas. In 1972, my wife and I formed an organization in Central Texas as an outreach to young people who were troubled by alcohol, drugs, and in trouble with the law. We gave them a place to live, have 3 balanced meals a day, a place at night to lay their head. An attorney who told me that it never would work, later on when he saw it was working, he said to me, we need to get the place incorporated, so we incorporated it as Youtherama of Texas Incorporated. Because of the work that we were doing, I felt the need to get extra training. In 1973, I liquidated a mutual fund that I had had for several years to pay our own way to go to New York City. This was after the Twin Towers had opened, and I went to Brooklyn, New York, and stayed in the 7-story building that was owned by Bobby Seale and the Black Panther Party. We communicated for 2 weeks while my wife was visiting her dad in Waterbury, Connecticut. I stayed there. I listened. I learned. I walked the sidewalks. I know where Bedford Stuyvesant is. I listened to people who were different color, different culture, different from me totally. But I learned, and I came back and began to put those principles into practice. Now, advance forward to the late 1990s, and I'm here living in Dallas, Texas, and I'm attending the DISD school board meetings, trying to make sense of the chaos and the tumultuous gatherings that we were having down there. John, you were there many times. And then we received the threat that there were going to be some members of the new Black Panther Party that would show up and they would bring their shotguns with them. And they did. And they stood at the back of the room with the shotguns on their shoulder. And then all hell broke loose, and fighting on the floor, in the back, and all around us with the police. That was an awful time of remembrance in my lifetime. And John, you came back down the aisle, and I said, John, to you, can't you do something about this? And you said to me, we're trying to get back here. I'm trying to get back to the people and cause this to stop. I view you as a man of compassion, Mr. Price, at times. There have been times when I've been able to come down here and talk with you, and we've made sense. But I think our communication has been lost over the past few months. And so all of that being said, I'm here to tell you today, we live in a society of different cultures. When I had the board of directors and advisors to me, Elvin Hayes was one of my advisors of the Washington Board of State. Thank you.
All right, our next speaker is Mr. Lawrence Weiner.
Judge Jenkins and Commissioners, good afternoon. I'm Lawrence Weiner. I reside at 6137 Saul Ross Lane in Dallas, Texas. Last week we celebrated the life of a great man, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. As we honor the memory of Dr. King, we remember some of his immortal words from his I Have a Dream speech. Dr. King said this, I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, by the content of their character. Today I'm concerned, and Dr. King might have been concerned and not happy, because we would consider recognizing a person for a position of trust and responsibility who, as a legacy of their character, founded an organization that has been classified as an anti-Semitic hate group by responsible organizations. That is the new Black Panther Party. Aaron McCarthy, or Michaels, founded this group in 1989. The organization still exists today. Even the original Black Panther Party condemns their beliefs and methods. I do not know if Mr. McCarthy has disavowed all association with the new Black Panther Party or not. This would seem to be a reasonable or responsible expectation for it before one would be selected for a position representing the public at large. I don't know what vetting of Mr. McCarthy has occurred, but would say today about the feelings about this man. Would it be without regard to their color, race, religion, or national origin? I challenge the Commissioners to find the best of our peers not one whose character could cause significant disharmony and discord among people with whom he did not agree or did not respect. And, I do take the issue of anti-Semitism very seriously. I have a grandfather who had to escape the Ukraine as a child, escaping anti-Semitism and pogroms in Ukraine. Self-made man to become a giant in the apparel industry and in the military in this country, and he was judged on his character, rather than his origins, as some might do. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Mary Bosworth. Ms. Mary Bosworth. And next speaker is Ms. Carmen Miles.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you today. My name is Connie Miles. I live at 10706 Royal Park Drive. That's Dallas, 75238. About 15 years ago, on a Sunday morning, a preacher got up to speak, and he told his congregation that he had a confession to make. And he told them that he no longer loved his wife, and that he had been praying to the Lord that the Lord would get rid of his wife because he didn't like her, he didn't love her, he did not want her in his life anymore. And he said to the congregation that in the night, the Lord had spoken to him, and the Lord had said, I know you don't love your wife. I know you don't even like her anymore. But you see, I love my daughter. And I believe that the Lord loves each of us the same, regardless of color, regardless of political affiliation, regardless of where we live, how we live. He loves me as much as he loves you. I believe that in the city of Dallas, that we can find people to serve on committees that love humanity. They don't care if they're white, black, brown, or purple. They love individuals. And I believe that if people knew that we had a need for a committee, that they would rise up and volunteer, people that love one another. There's a book I'm going to beseech you to read, and it's called Heart Shift. It's by John Trent. The premise of the book is that when we say you need to change your attitude or you need to change your behavior, most of us think, oh, it's overwhelming, there's no way, and we think that's a 180-degree turnabout. Pretty impossible for most of us. And the premise of the book is basically, if we changed our behavior toward each other by 2 degrees, the impact would be humongous. And the analogy is given of when engineers are trying to get to the moon and get a rocket to the moon. If they miscalculated by 2 degrees, they would miss the moon by 11 million miles. I believe that we are charged by Christ to love each other with an uncommon love, to care what happens to each other. I am not from Dallas, but I love Dallas. And I believe we can do better than putting someone in a position that, by his actions, has proved that he does not love all of humanity with the love of God.
Draw conclusions and the name of the spelling of the author's last name is what now?
T-R-E-N-T.
Along those lines, I'd recommend Reposition Yourself by T.D. Jakes. Along the same line, excellent book. Last speaker is Sylvia Bradley. It's Sylvia Bradley.
That's not the last speaker.
Oh, I missed a page. I'm sorry. Oh, I beg your pardon. Ms. Foos, Carolyn Foos, please. Beg your pardon. I'm sorry, I checked. Did not intend to do that. I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm Carolyn Foos. I live at 3129 Hanover, Dallas 75225. And I just want you to know, I'm opposed to the Commissioners Court appointing Aaron McCarthy, alias Aaron Michael or Michaels, as or any man described as the founder of the new Black Panther Party that was registered in 1991. I'm opposed to that appointment. His background has not been thoroughly studied, has it? If it hasn't, could this issue please be tabled? Do you know how he got his ideas, or from where he got them, or from who he got them? I'm certain we can find someone to fill this appointment whose ideology is more neutral. I would like to see true patriots on this commission, on this board. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last speaker is Sylvia Bradley. Sylvia Bradley. Thank you. All right, and that concludes our public speakers. This court's now reconvened in public session with recess for our closed session as authorized by Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. As previously posted, any action as a result of that closed session will take place in a subsequent open session. Thank you.